guys. I want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, there we go. Oh, no. That's massive. This is it. This is over. I can't believe this. Oh, my God. God, what?
Welcome to Scrap Round 4 of the Stock Car Racing Asia Pacific Series here at one of my favourite tracks in the oval scene. We head to Virginia to Richmond Raceway, one of the shortest tracks on the iRacing calendar, just on a mile in length, D-shaped oval with two distinctly different sections of the track. Very, very open, turn 3 through to turn 1 section. Very, very tight, turns 1 and 2. Going to provide some very, very good racing. Over 115 laps of action. We welcome you here on SimSpeed TV. My name is Jay Kennedy. Alongside me, back in the booth once again for tonight, Cameron Dance. Cam, this is going to be a great night of racing. Qualifying's nice and close. Means that we're going to have some great action. Strategy is also going to be very, very interesting as well.
Yeah, absolutely is. It's going to be really, really cool to see what's going to happen tonight. Short track compared to where we've been for the last few weeks. So looking forward to seeing what's going to happen tonight.
100%. A big thanks as well to AOG, Aussie Online Gaming, for their help with this series as well. We'll run through the championship standings in just a moment. But as we said, qualifying has been run and it is done. And a little bit of a surprise without Braden Boulos on the front row tonight. He's starting back in the field a little. And he's going to start from the rear of the field, even though he leads the championship. So it's a little bit surprising to see him dropping back in the field. But it will make for some interesting racing to watch him come through.
Yeah, certainly. Well, surprise pole for Jason Martin over the likes of Matt Danson, Justin Howell, and a few others to make it a little bit interesting compared to what we normally would see. We would have thought it would have been the Altus show at the front row, but it's not quite tonight an Altus front row lockout. So going to be certainly a very, very spicy race up the front.
Yeah, Boulos leading by 10 points, of course, winning both of our point scoring races so far, and Matt Danson 10 points back after not finishing any higher than second in those races. So he'll starting a little bit further back than he would like. This is the setup for tonight's racing. 115 laps or 60 minutes, whichever comes first. 2 spare sets of tyres, so 3 sets of tyres in total, including the 1 set that you start the race on. And then we have up to 3 green white checker attempts with 1 fast repair. The caveat of all of it is that you can only make 95 odd laps of fuel to your tank. So if we do stay green, which fingers crossed we do, because this track seems to provide either very, very long green flag runs or plenty of yellows, no in between. But if we do see long green flag runs, the fact that we could reach that 95 laps per tank is not out of the realms of possibility.
Yeah, absolutely not wrong. So it's going to be a lot of fuel saving going on for some drivers, while others are going to be just been trying to push as hard as they possibly can and just get themselves right to the front of the field and trying to build a little bit of a gap. So the strategy is going to be very, very fascinating as to what's going to happen. Tyres are going to be very, very important, especially looking after the right front and that right rear as well, to make sure you don't end up in a little bit of strife later on in the race with too much understeer or too much oversteer on the exit, as those walls can very, very quickly come upon you, as we've found out from personal experience, Jay.
100%. That exit turn 2 wall will creep up and you will end up in it very, very quickly and easily. We've got around about 22 drivers out there for tonight. Sorry, 20 drivers for tonight. So another decent turnout. Some new names to the series joining us for the first time, and some names that we do expect to be in the series that have come back. And we've also got some names that will be joining us throughout the coming weeks as well. But we will run through our starting grid. It is as follows. Jason Martin on the pole position will start from first, just pipping Matt Danson by 7/100ths of a second. Justin Howe in second, and Dan Stevens in Justin Howe in third, and Dan Stevens in fourth. Those two very, very close as well. That whole top 4, very, very close. Jaden Russell in 5th, Simon Mazzomo in 6th. A good qualifying run from him. We did hear from a few drivers that the second lap of qualifying was going to be the fastest, which I think might surprise some of the drivers when they were out there on their runs. Wingard and Jones on row number 4. 5 is Yeaman and McKenzie. Matty Jones and Tim Corn on row 6. Row 7, Aaron Russell and Todd Maxfield's. Row 8 is going to be Mitch McLeod and Sam Stride. Row 9, Colin Bruns and Peter Wilkinson. And then the 10th row, final row of the grid, Braden Bullos and Mike Taliancic, who did not put in lap times.
Yeah, so Bullos and Taliancic deciding to start rear of field, possibly to try and keep out of the carnage and possibly also give themselves a little bit of a challenge. So it's going to be interesting to see how far forward they can make their way towards the front of the field across this race. And obviously pit stop's going to play into a little bit of strategy as well, especially if we get cautions with drivers taking 2 tyres or 4 tyres rather than trying to do one or the other.
100% right. There is that possibility that we do see some mixed up strategies throughout as we get ready to get the race underway. I do believe we will have 2 pace laps at this track because we do have the short a lap. So it does mean that we usually get an extra pace lap, as we do. As we said before, we do get 60-minute time limit or till we hit that magic time of, magic lap number of 115, whichever comes first. Fingers crossed we can get to the 115 tonight. We did last week, which was great to see. Only the 1 caution last week at Loudon. It was a fairly nasty hit, but tonight we'll see if we can have some big green flag runs. Matt Danson and Jason Martin on the front row. It's going to be a very, very interesting battle between those guys. And it's going to be interesting to watch Braden Bullos work his way through the field. We'll be hoping that he doesn't make contact with anyone as he's come through as well.
Yeah, we're certainly hoping for no major incidents on the way, but the pace car is in. Green flag is in the air in a very, very equal start. Martin with a slight advantage, but Danson's going to try and get it around the outside on the way into turns 1 and 2, but not quite going to have his advantage. Nearly gets done by Justin Howe, who's on the low side. Danson continuing to run the top side of the racetrack, and he's going to stay second, but Howe's going to launch it back up the inside on the way into 3 and 4 and challenge Danson for P2 here.
Yeah, we saw last week Justin Howe had some great pace and was able to challenge Jaden Russell and Jason Martin for third position while the Altus duo drove away at the front. But Justin Howe doing a great job, although that is a huge wiggle from him. He tries to get the power on out of turn 2. That turn 2 wall can creep up very, very aggressively. So running too wide at the exit of turn 2 can be quite tough, as Justin Howe may have put a little bit too much into the tyres already. Starting to struggle with rear grip.
Yeah, possibly starting to just suffer a little bit. And bearing in mind, with it being a short track, it's a little bit different to how these trucks are going to normally handle. They're not so gripped up compared to a much more speedway style track where it's a little bit easier to get on the throttle. So you really do have to manage your throttle control a lot more around this sort of a short track than everywhere else. But at the front, it's still fairly equal between Danson and Martin. Danson's back down onto the bottom side of the racetrack now, try and work his way forward and gain a little bit of an advantage, but further back it's still going on between the 2 drop bear cars. That's Ryan Jones just being bumped into the wall, but I think that was Matty Jones giving him a little bit of a hip check, and now he's slotted it in behind Maxfield now, but continuing green and no real dramas other than that.
Yeah, Ryan Jones won't be too happy with that, but yeah, it wasn't too much of a hit there. A little bit of a hip check from the truck of Matty Jones, who probably just broke at the corner. As we start lap number 6 already. The laps do go by pretty quick here, around about 22 seconds per lap. If we stay green, we're only looking about a 44-minute race, so that's around about the aim that we aimed for with race lengths, was around that 44-45 second bracket. So fingers crossed we see some nice green flag runs as Aaron Russell tries to hold off Braden Bullos. He's around the outside, and that's moved on. I don't think Aaron's realised who he's quite battling with yet.
He probably doesn't quite realise who he's up against, going around the outside, making that outside line work, or the mid-track at least, on the way through 1 and 2, work very, very well is Braden Boulos. So he's making that line work and possibly saving a little bit of tyre as well in the process. So making his way on forward and not too far off the back of the top 10 as well with the way he's going. And he's trying to line up Ryan Jones as well, and he's possibly going to do him around the outside at 1 and 2 as well.
Definitely looks like he is making moves forward, as that's Mitch McLeod starting to make some moves through his first proper race for the season. Raced in round 0 when we had our practice round, as we got Wilco doing a big slide, and I think that might have been Mike Taliancic. He made a little bit of contact with him. So we have our first caution period of the night. We'll see if we can pick up a replay before we get into the pit stops.
Yeah. Virtual Racing School replay to check it out, but it doesn't actually look like it was Wilco or Taliancic who caused the caution. It was actually a little bit of an incident between himself and Bruns on the way down the back straight. We'll see on the replay here as to what happened between them, but Bruns just getting turned over the nose by Taliancic, and then the rest ensuing carnage happened. Unfortunately, Wilco getting involved in there, no real fault of his own and no real where to go either in that, unfortunately, and ended up making contact with the barrels on the inside.
Do hurt your truck or your car quite easily, so unfortunate there for Wilco. Into the pits to come in and get damage fixed is no surprise seeing Mike Taliancic in. He comes in to get damage fixed. Remembering that caution laps do count in this racing. Mitch McLeod also in, I believe, just topping up fuel. Didn't see any tyres there for McLeod, and I don't think he's got any damage, so a little bit of a strange one there.
Yeah, very strange. Possibly just topping up with a little bit of fuel rather than burning up a set of tyres. They're only 11 laps in, so it would be a little bit pointless to use that set of tyres that they've got stored away this early on.
Taliancic back out. He's used his spare truck, I believe, and he's back out there fully clean and good to go again. If Bruns, his damage, a little bit of damage, but it doesn't look too bad. I mean, the thing with damage around this track is short track racing. The damage isn't as bad, or it doesn't mean as much in this sort of racing as it does when we're racing at, say, Talladega or Daytona.
Yeah, absolutely not wrong there at all.
Jason Martin will be coming around to get the 1 to go signal. Barney will stop waving the flag, potentially. Maybe. Find out in a second. And they're starting to form up now, so we are going to get the 1 to go. Lights are out. We'll go green this time by.
Yes, we're getting our first restart of the night after 15 laps of running, 11 green laps of it racing as well. So going to be interesting to see what's going to happen off this restart. Whether Danson's going to be able to get a reasonable run on that middle, the midline on the way through 1 and 2, which seems to be working for his teammate Braden Boulos. Is going to be very, very fascinating. But if Jason Martin can at least hold the bottom side, he should be okay. And don't forget about Jaden Russell as well as Daniel Stevens on Mazomo, who are not too far in the background. But pace car is off, and we are about to get back underway with racing. Green flag is in the air, and it's a very, very good jump from Jason Martin to get the lead straight off Matt Danson. And now Jaden Russell's going to have a go at Matt Danson on the way into turn 1.
Yep. Great job from Jaden Russell. Probably better launch from Jaden Russell to judge that start. Matt Danson was caught a little bit sleeping. Of course, the rules say in this series you can't go until the green flag waves. And I got the feeling that Martin was ready to go, and Matt Danson may not have realised how quickly the green was going to come. There's Mazomo, Howe, and also Dan Stevens are 3 wide into turn 1. Mazomo says, no way, I'm getting out of that. And lets the other two go. This is a great little fight between Stevens and how, and Stevens just showed how quickly that wall comes up as Matt Danson through to take the lead of the race.
Yeah, very, very good move by Danson to get up the inside with a little bit of a cheeky slide job move up the inside through 3 and 4. But Martin trying to run that mid-track on the way through 1 and 2, and it seems to have worked from very, very well on the exit. Going to be drawing well up alongside on the way in, but that bottom side going to be working towards him. We've got another caution and possibly a very, very big shunt in the back.
Oh, no. That's Aaron Russell who's been involved. Tim Cornt in there as well, and Bradley Wingard also in that one. Yeah, we need another look at that one. That was a rather big incident, that one.
Yeah, it certainly was catching a lot of, well, having a lot of drivers caught up in it by the looks of it, the likes of Ryan Jones, McLeod, Maxfield, Stride, and a number of others, unfortunately. It sounded like Mazomo was involved, but we'll see what's going to happen on the replay. Everybody sort of contact between, I think that was Jones and Bradley Wingard on the way down the back straight, and then everybody's sort of had nowhere really to go, unfortunately. Get another view to see what's actually gone on. Come through turns 1 and 2, okay, but and obviously something's happened on the way out of turn 2, and there's that outside wall catching Bradley Wingard off a little bit, and Matty Jones also having a bit of a check-up. So it was a little bit starting further forward, but at the same time, that turn 2 wall claiming a victim already.
So yeah, looked like Matty Jones sort of checked up a little bit, was worried he was going to hit the wall, which then caused Wingard to check up, which then he got contact from Ryan Jones, who didn't really have anything to do with it, and then as Wingard's recovering from hitting the wall himself, it ended up in a huge one. But yeah, Mazomo started that, which caused Boulos to check up, which caused everyone to check up, and Mazomo's already told us that he's taken the blame for that one, which is a positive thing to say, that drivers are taking the blame for their incidents, but not the way we wanted to see this start out. But then again, no surprise to see it at this track.
Yeah, definitely not wrong. And the sort of incidents are going to happen at this sort of track, especially when there's very, very little room to avoid that sort of thing, and it's very, very easy to end up in the wall. So hopefully not too many more of those sort of situations, and hopefully not too many more cars suffering that similar fate to what happened there. I'm just dancing in a fake a pit entry.
Of course he's going to fake one, but it's not going to do it.
I'm going to say he is. Yes, he is.
Helps if I turn my mic on the right scene. There we go. There's Daniel Stevens. Just love his view in these races. We'll catch up with him throughout the night. A bit of damage to the rear of his truck, but he doesn't look too stressed about it. Got Simon Mazomo starting on his inside, we will also catch up with throughout the race as well. A few drivers joining us on Zoom once again. Green flag flies, we're back underway. 95 laps to go. And that looks like a much cleaner restart. Staying too wide, but the front has already gone back into single file. Dan Yeaman sort of stuck in no man's land at the moment. Looks like we're going to get through okay. Matty Jones dropping, and he's got a penalty by the looks because he's having to come back into the lane. Not a good start for him, but Jaden Russell got something at the moment. He's starting to make that truck work, and of course remember Justin Howe potentially has some tyres that are not quite at the level that he would be happy with.
Yeah, certainly not wrong there, but the way it is currently, and still continuing to down the lane, is Wingard. Possibly get some damage fixed, possibly get some fuel as well. That's going to result in going down a lap down, but Jones side by side on the way down the back straight is going to take that position straight off Aaron Russell, who he's busy battling with at the moment. And
Oh, McLeod!
oh, Sam Strider. Oh, McLeod's on the wall. Jones on the wall. That's a big incident.
Wow. I can't say I've seen that before. Ryan Jones is stuck in the wall, so he's going to have to use a tow. And McLeod got thrown backwards from the wall. McLeod's trying to help Ryan Jones out of the wall, but I don't think it's working.
Yeah, I don't think it's unfortunately working there, and we'll get a virtual racing school replay to have a look at what's happened. But just looked like McLeod got a little bit just too wide on the way out of turn 4 and just found himself bouncing off the outside wall down the front straight. And unfortunately, Ryan Jones was the closest victim to him, and Ryan Jones collecting that inside wall and same with McLeod, and then unfortunately phasing through the wall at the same time and getting quite a bit of airtime as well in the process.
Those are the sort of incidents you see that you go, geez, I hope they're not using motion controls because...
Or VR.
Yeah, or VR you'd be sick, but motion controls you'd be thrown out. That was really, really unfortunate. And for some reason, McLeod stayed out there, so the pits may not have opened for him just there. He has gone a lap down, so that is correct. The pits wouldn't have been open. Brad Wingard will get the lucky dog, I believe, and we'll get the lap back after having to come in and serve a black flag. Well, he may have been in the pits when caution was thrown, so maybe not. Ryan Jones is already in the lane. Peter Wilkinson has also come in to get damage fixed. English is good tonight.
Yeah, looking like he's got some damage fixed there, getting back up before he goes a lap down. No tyres taken, so possibly a little bit of fuel and some damage repaired. Mostly damage, I'd say, but he's at least back out and not a lap down, so he's going to stay on the lead lap for the time being.
Player comes in to get his truck fixed. No surprise there.
Yeah, McLeod's going to use that one fast repair he's got already, so he's not going to want to get involved in any more incidents from this point onward, or he's going to be in a little bit of trouble. Jones has had to tow it back to the lane as well, so he's going to end up a lap down, and he's going to have burnt up his spare car as well, based on the damage that he received in that incident.
Should get the one to go this time. Just dancing, pretending that he's going in the pits, but never, ever, ever was considering it. And you can see the lights are still on. iRacing Pace Cup. And Cam, while we got this little moment, I want to talk to you about something about this track that I don't know if you'd ever noticed, but do you notice how off-centre the start line is at this track?
I actually have, and it still surprises me to this day as to why it does.
Every time. Every time we, myself and a few of the guys that work on the Coca-Cola eNASCAR iRacing Series broadcast talked about it when we were here for the Coke Series a few weeks ago. That why is the start line so off-centre? Like, why is it not in a traditional spot on a D-shaped oval? It doesn't make sense. The fact that the finish line is angled in pit lane just makes no sense as well.
It actually is as well. At Southpaw Racer, please provide facts for this track. There must be a reason. I want to say it's due to the length of the track and the way... I want to say it's a similar situation to Bathurst, where you've got the point at which to complete the necessary distance, you have to get to the finish line at a specific point. But I could be completely wrong.
Yeah, I don't know.
It seems like the most logical reason from what I can at least suss out.
We'll try and find out for next week. Next week's track, we don't have to worry about that sort of bizarre line. A little bit more traditional in its position next week when we head to Chicagoland, but we get ready to go. Matt Danson, Jason Martin still on the front row, and you can see Braden Boulos already up into position number 7 as the green flag flies. And restart number 3. We're back underway. Good jump from Matt Danson, and Jason Martin, Justin Howe, and Jaden Russell continue their fight. But this next pack, have a look at Darren McKenzie with the big look up the inside. Couldn't quite get it done. But McKenzie looking to start making moves.
Yes, certainly looking to make his way on forward is McKenzie at the moment and trying to do that as best as he possibly can. He's got a lot of cars around him and making that bottom side of the track work quite nicely. Strides on his outside, trying to find his way on by. And he's got Stevens not too far up the road as well as Colin Brunn's just tucked up in behind. So it's very, very equal at the moment between the top and the bottom of this racetrack currently. No real obvious signs as to which way it's going, but certainly making passing very, very difficult for a lot of people. And it is also burning that right front up as well for those running that bottom side of the racetrack.
Yep, exactly right. You want to try and get yourself up. Half a groove. Half a groove's all you need at this track to help save that tyre. And you'll notice, you go back to the front, Matt Danson, look how far up the track he is set for at the exit of the corner. He's running that half groove up. It's the not natural line. It's the mentality that you really struggle with if you've only raced road racing in your entire lifetime, to get away from hugging the inside of the track. It can be very, very difficult to end that mentality, doesn't it? Or can't it be?
It can be, can't be. Depends on who you ask, I guess, at the end of the day. But
I know I struggled with it for a long time.
Yeah, definitely not wrong. It takes a little bit of getting used to, and it's a little bit mind-bending at times, but once you're used to it, I guess it's one of those things. Once you're used to it, you don't really mind too much about it.
Exactly right. You've got to do a lot of practice to get that mindset to be gone. Mazomo continuing on here.
And making Braden Boulos work for his breakfast, I guess you could say, on the way through 1 and 2 at the moment. Not really doing all that, well, not really making any effort to pass as well as Boulos over the last few laps. So possibly just trying to get himself in a cruise control mode, trying to just save those tyres a little bit for a longer run and set himself up for the pit stops as well. So we'll see what's going to happen, but there's certainly not going to be in favour of anyone at this stage. And Mazomo still continuing to hold on. Not really too much pace differential as well between himself and those ahead of him, so continuing to hold pace.
This pack's starting to get a little bit wild here. You've got Aaron Russell, Colin Bruns, Todd Maxfield, Mike Taliancic, Tim Cornt and McLeod, Brad Wingard and Ryan Jones all trying to make their way back through. Matty Jones in there as well. So all of them in this pack together. And it does look a little bit wild and a little bit messy. Aaron Russell leading the pack. Of course, has already come in to use his spare truck. He also did not take tyres when he used that spare truck. So he's still out there with the new truck on old tyres. It can be a little bit confusing knowing that you have to do both when you sometimes come in for damage repair.
Yeah, exactly. And really got to time your stop and make sure that you're not going to be holding yourself up for too long as well with that sort of thing going on. But if you have to get it done, you have to get it done. And usually you'll find a lot of drivers will get damage done under caution rather than do it under green. So we'll see what's going to happen with those possibly carrying a little bit of damage. But a few drivers are continuing to make their way on forward through the field currently. And okay, trying to make that happen at the moment. Tim Corn, trying to make it happen as he gets a little bit loose on the way through turns 1 and 2. Bradley Wingard in there as well, trying to get up the inside of Taliancic, which he's done, but Taliancic is going to draw back alongside with the momentum of that high side on the way out of turns 4 and going to continue to run that slightly higher line. Wingard can press on with the bottom side, but that top side looking like it's just starting to give Taliancic a little bit of a run more.
Yeah, Taliancic looks like he's a little bit more comfortable running the outside, doesn't he? He did look like he was struggling a little bit earlier on the inside line. Of course, he and Wingard both have had damage to fix in this race so far as well. So I'll be hoping that this race goes a little bit smoother for them now on till the end of this one with 72 laps to go here at Richmond Raceway. Round 4 of scrap. Jason Martin trailing now from Matt Dance. Of course, Jason Martin was the pole sitter. Has dropped back to position number 2 after the first restart. Matt Danson now leads, has led since around about lap 14 or 15. We're not too far off the guys thinking around pit stops. I think if we stay green by lap 60, 65, I wouldn't be surprised to see someone come and risk a green flag stop.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see if we get any green flag stops to try and break up the strategy and do something different as well to what we might possibly see if we get a long green flag run as well. Everybody will have to come down onto the lane during it and do some green flag stops, and it will be interesting to see how many people have also practiced green flag stops as well. As that pit entry comes up very, very quickly during a green run, and it's very, very easy to overshoot the pit entry and possibly slide up into traffic if you're not careful. But at the front, it's still very, very close between Boulos and Russell. Boulos has made a lot of progress in the last few restarts, so certainly making his way towards the front of the field and trying to size up Russell with the way that it's going. It was 2 tenths quicker last time by, so I'd say the move is going to be coming at some point rather than later.
Yeah, you think that Boulos is probably just in cruise mode. I mean, his pace is good. It's not as good as Matt Danson, but at this stage it doesn't need to be. He just needs to be consistent and continue to lap around. As you just see in the background there, that was Ryan Jones making his way past Simon Mazzomo as Braden Boulos makes his way past Jaden Russell. They go side by side across the stripe, and if that was the last lap, Jaden Russell would have had it, but won't matter at the exit of turn 1 and 2 because Jaden Russell will have to tuck in behind. Just won't get the drive from that outside line on 48 lap old tyres. Ryan Jones, of course, did come in under that last caution to get his spare truck, so he's out there only on 20 lap old tyres, so his pace is a lot better than everyone else's at the moment. Talking about that pit stop that we were mentioning, whether we'll see green flag stops, it's something the likes of Daniel Stevens or Darren McKenzie, those guys are probably in the sort of position where you might roll the dice. You've got nothing to lose. What's the matter? What's the difference between finishing P10 or P15? You're better off trying something in the hope that it might boost you all the way up to P3, P4, P1 even. I think that's a strategy that those two guys might be the two that might go for it.
You could very well see someone like that possibly just roll the dice and see what happens. And if the caution did actually come out at the right time, they might just be lucky enough to find themselves in a very, very good position as Corn keeps it up the inside of Taliacic, but is keeping Aaron Russell at bay at the moment. Russell actually started to fall away a little bit from where he originally was earlier on in this race. Did start in 13th, so he's at least up one position, but was fighting with the likes of Stevens and that earlier on in the race, so possibly just struggling with a little bit of tyre wear at this stage, and Corn really applying the pressure, but Taliacic starting to drop off the back.
Corn's finally going to get this done, is he? No. Russell gets the momentum on the outside of turn 1, and what they're doing, they're bringing Colin Bruns back into this fight too, so Corn finally gets it done. Well, it might have been done a little bit earlier, but finally through goes Tim Corn up into 12th position. We've got Peter Wilkinson in the pits, and I'm wondering if he's come in for a scheduled stop. No, this doesn't look scheduled. Way too long. Something's happened there to Peter Wilkinson.
Yeah, he's been sitting in the lane for quite some time, possibly a penalty from coming down onto the lane, possibly damage of some sort that he's had on the way into the lane. He has overshot onto the lane and actually brushed the barrels on the way in, so say there's maybe a speeding in pit lane penalty, but not 100% sure, but nevertheless he's back out and going at least, but still very, very equal at the front of the field. Danson slowly trying to pull away from Jason Martin, but Martin's not giving that up very, very easily.
We're about to finish 55 of our 115 laps. That means 60 laps to go. We're not far off halfway through this race. Gun new to us here. This is Scrap, the Stock Car Racing Asia Pacific Series, the Truck Series, the inaugural series for us here at SimSpeed in association with Aussie Online Gaming. We work to build the oval scene in Australia and New Zealand and the Asia Pacific region. So if you are interested in jumping in for a drive, check out our Facebook page at Scrap Esports. Fill in the entry form and we will see if we can get you included into the league. Have you out on track, fingers crossed, very, very soon, because the racing, for the most part, is very, very clean and very, very intense. As you can see here, Todd Maxfield, in his first night out there for the lads team, passing his fellow lad in Sam Stride. Or trying to, anyway.
Trying to is the very, very key point as they come down the front straight. At the moment, Stride's managing to hold that high side very, very well, but Maxfield using that bottom side of the racetrack very, very nicely and managed to get ahead on the way out of turn 2 and is going to get that position for the very, very momentarily, but is going to end up holding that in the end as Stride just not quite able to make the high side of the racetrack work through 3 and 4, but he's going to send it back up the inside and swap positions on the way into 1 and 2. Now Stride is going to be on the bottom side of the racetrack, but possibly just suffering from a little bit of front right. Where is Maxwell just brushing the wall out of turn 2 there, but managing to keep it straight, so going to be no caution there, but possibly both suffering from a little bit of tyre wear to some extent in their own right.
We're past the halfway point now, so be interesting to think about what drivers are going to do for pit strategy. Todd Maxfield running very, very wide, and that'll help in behind. You can see Tim Cornt, the next for position. You see Bradley Wingard in behind, who is a lap down. But in behind him is Tim Cornt in the Locked On Lads truck. He's closing on these guys as well. Last lap by about half a second quicker. So he's starting to close in, and that may be position finally done. And it is. Another position that might be very close to done is Justin Howe maybe going to lose third position here with Braden Boulos, who, remember, started in second last on the grid.
Yeah, certainly. He's done very, very well to find himself near the front of the field. Has Boulos and going to be on the podium at the rate he's going, possibly even going to be second if he can catch up to Jason Martin. He's had some very, very good pace over the last few laps, has Boulos, and the leaders getting into traffic as well. So these two being in nice clean air, really going to be closing up to the leaders if they get held up a little bit too much.
And when do we see someone decide to jump in the lane? That's probably the biggest question. And we said that it was 95 laps to a green flag tank. We've had 3 cautions. I don't think that's enough laps for them to be able to stretch out the fuel to 115. So we're going to have to see him in for a pit stop at some point, whether it's with a caution or whether it's something else. I must say, Justin Howe checked up big time there as Mike Taliancic comes into the lane to get his fuel stop and tyres done.
Yeah, so start to see a few drivers bring it down onto the lane. Taliancic's the first of the real contenders to get their green flag stop out of the way. We're seeing Darren McKenzie also come down onto the lane, so unfortunately Taliancic, he stopped a little bit, well, in the lane a little bit longer than he will have hoped with the fact he missed his box, but leaders continuing to press on with this green flag run. No one really deciding to bring it down onto the lane. Actually, interesting, no one really has brought it down onto the lane. Is that Al in the wall and Boulos in the wall as well?
Justin Howe just lit up the rears a little bit at the exit of turn 2. And that is a heavy, heavy hit in the wall. And you can see how much damage there is to his truck. This hurts the likes of McKenzie and Taliancic because they've gone 2 laps down based on the length of this track. But let's see what happened once again here on the Virtual Racing School replay between Justin Howe and Braden Boulos. Braden trying to make his way through the field. This was the risk that he had of starting at the back of the field. You see, slight little slide, hit the wall, and then as he tries to recover there, Justin Howe lights up the rears. Very, very easy to do at this track. And the one thing that we've said all week is watch out for the exit of turn 2 because that wall bites.
Yeah, it certainly bites and it sneaks up very, very quickly, unfortunately. Howe falling victim to that outside wall with a lot of heavy damage, probably some of it resulting in being a result of what happened with the contact to himself and Bulos. But Bulos going to have to come down onto the lane as well to get that damage fixed. He's going to burn up his spare car as well as Howe. But that's going to be a lot of work for Bulos to make his way on back through the field. He should have a new set of tyres, so he's going to be in a very, very good position compared to those who have stayed out. So they're going to have an advantage to some extent. There's a few that have come out onto the lane as well at this point to get some new tyres, the likes of Martin and Danton and a few other leaders. But
did you see how close this was?
And I actually did. It was very, very close on the exit. It was incredibly close.
Jason Martin needed a quarter of a second to be able to launch it away a bit earlier, and he would have got that. But Matt Danson maintains the lead for now. I saw there too, Braden Bulos was stopped on the track for some reason. Sorry, that was Matt Danson who was stopped on the track. Like he may have had to fix something technically, because now making his way back up forward. You can see all the drivers that did not come into the pits that time around. McLeod, Wingard, Bruns, all these guys that pitted under the last caution or came in for green flag stops, they're all going to get their lap back. So Aaron Russell, the only one still left in the lane. Matty Jones has decided to park it for the night, unfortunately. A little bit disappointing to see that, but get ready for the final phase of the race now, into the final 45 laps. This is going to be tense.
Yeah, it's certainly going to be very, very tense, and it's going to spice it up as well if we get another caution, because there's going to be some drivers who did bring it down onto the lane and some who didn't. So there's going to be a lot of drivers who are going to need to make their way through with new tyres, and some who are going to end up suffering later on if we get another caution or end up with a situation where there's going to be possibly pit stops happening again.
There's some drivers trying to get some heat back into the tyres too. You saw Mizomo and Cornt and Stride all weaving to try and get some heat into the tyres and get a feel for their truck. Interesting that Todd Maxfield decided not to use his spare truck. I'm very surprised by that. You know, he's saving that just in case. Or has he already used it early on? I don't believe he did.
I don't think he did use it early on, so I'd say... Or has he?
I'm not sure.
Doesn't look like he's used it. Could be completely wrong, though.
Just realised I can actually check in the overlay software, so give me a second. See if it tells me, but we get ready to go green. Danson leading once again. And the green flag flies, and a very, very even launch throughout the top 8 there. Great restart. Very, very clean as well, as you see Stride dropping down half a lane, and into the wall goes Bruns out of turn 2. But he's got it going and kept it in the right direction, which is great to see.
Yeah, very, very good to see. Although contact down the front straight with a few drivers getting a little bit messy. And it looked like Daniel Yeaman, Howe's in the wall again. Bruns nearly getting involved. He's nearly in the wall again. Just all getting very, very squirrely down the back straight.
That was very, very messy and could have ended in tears, but we've got through okay, which is great to see. I was surprised though. I thought that was going to end in tears, and to confirm as well, Maxfield has used his spare truck. So, oh no, Stride's around. Caution is out. Also involved Tim Cornt in there too, and the 78 of Justin Howe also involved in that incident. And that was just messy, and probably you and I are both surprised that it took as long as it did for it to happen.
Yeah, a little bit surprised that it happened as late as it did, but it actually all started between Stride ending up making contact with, I think it was Tim Cornt on the outside, and unfortunately everybody else having nowhere really to go, and Howie, Wingard getting involved, as well as Howie and a few others sadly getting involved in that. Or Howie probably the worst one, coming worst off compared to everybody else. So unfortunately he's going to be damaged, and he's going to need to bring it down onto the lane once again as he...
Oh, that was a hard hit.
very, very hard hit indeed. So he's going to have to get some more damage fixed. Unfortunately, Stride's going to come down onto the lane. McLeod and Wilkinson all going to, Corn, sorry, going to come down onto the lane this time around to get their damage fixed.
That one just started by Sam Stride, probably giving a little bit too much room to Maxfield on the inside. Didn't give enough room on the outside. But sometimes it's very, very tough to judge when you're in that middle lane, but unfortunate incident there. It's a very, very Richmond crash, that one. 3 wide through the entry to turn 1 at Richmond. Does get rather messy rather quickly. As Darren McKenzie, remember, I said not that long ago, he was 2 laps down. Back on the lead lap.
Yeah, so very, very lucky to end up back on the lead lap is Darren McKenzie, and at least have a chance to try and make up a few more positions and get a good result tonight with the fact he's going to be back on the lead lap now rather than being still a lap down. He should gain a position on the likes of Stride and, well, at least Howell rather than Stride, but it's going to at least be a position there for him. So he won't finish all the way down the order, but still got a lot of cars to pass.
So if we do get another quick caution, Brad Wingard currently in the position of the lucky dog. Be a good recovery for him after where he was earlier on in the race. There he is. Doesn't look too stressed now. Was looking stressed earlier.
He certainly was, but looking a little bit more relaxed now that he's under caution and in the top 10 as well. So he's recovered very, very nicely, all things considered, with the way this race has gone from so far. And probably looking to try and improve on that as well in this last 30, let's say 6 laps or so, once we go green.
At the moment, too, it still looks like we will finish under the lap counter. So we're about to hit the 40-minute mark of the race, and we are past 2/3 race distance, or just on 2/3 race distance, so that's a positive. Fingers crossed we do finish on the lap counter and not time certain, as we have already in this season. We were very close that first round, though, weren't we? I think, what, we were 2 laps short?
It was something like that. It was not a lot.
The lights are out on the iRacing sedan. We say sedan because that is what it's called. We don't know what it is. You can make up whatever you like because the answer will be right and wrong. Danson and Boulos on the inside rows. Outside rows have Jason Martin and Jaden Russell. Stevens and Mazzomo on the 3rd row here for the restart. So they've had a very, very good recovery. They've been battling all race long. As a green flag flies and we get underway, a very, very even launch from all of our top 6. McLeod and Newman fight, and Todd Maxfield with that damaged truck still pushing along quite nicely, currently in P7.
Yeah, very, very good so far to be inside that top 10 and looking to try and make it a top 5 as well, not too far off the back of Daniel Stevens and Mazzomo, who are side by side just in front. Mazzomo's going to take the position off Stevens in the end as McLeod has a big, big dive on Daniel Yeaman just in the background. Yeaman's going to be holding the outside, nearly rushes the outside wall out of turn at 2. And going to continue to run the top side at the moment. We're going to start to go backwards a little bit and end up with McLeod take that position. That got very
sideways McLeod was there.
That got very sideways from McLeod. Could have ended up in the wall if he wasn't lucky enough, but managed to just hold on to it. Drives straight around the outside of Maxfield as well, as there's a car around the background. That is Brantley Wingard.
He's not happy either. He is not happy. Already thrown the gloves off in disgust and is looking like he might be race done. Unfortunate for him, but that was that turn 3 wall once again.
Well, he didn't even actually hit the wall there that time. He just got a little bit loose on the exit, and unfortunately, around it went into the inside wall. Lucky for Ryan Jones not to actually collect him on the way by, or anybody else to run into the back of him for that matter. It was very, very close, but unfortunately, once that round went, he was off and into the inside wall with a very, very solid impact.
It's probably one of those incidents where Wingard was probably so aware of that wall that he's probably tried to overcompensate for it. I tell you what, you're right. Ryan Jones very, very lucky there. So he just avoided incident there. So come back live, Dan Stevens. Haven't really had too much of a look in with Dan tonight. Currently in 6th position. Best qualifying for him for the season, starting in 4th. Number 3. Yeah, he looks very relaxed, doesn't he?
He doesn't look too stressed or too unhappy with himself at the moment. Just looks like he's reasonably calm and collected with the fact he's sitting in a top 5 position at the moment. Well, top 6, I should say. Not too far off the back of Mizomo. He's had some very, very good pace and very, very good fights as well with the likes of Mizomo, Russell, and a few others around him. So I'm interested to see whether he can gain another position in this next restart or not. As Russell is brought out of the pit lane to try and stay on the lead lap after getting some repairs done, as well as Tim Corn. But
yep, both of those guys getting damage fixed. Sorry there, Cam.
I was going to say, but with the few cautions coming out lately, pitting and putting on a new set of tyres might not actually be a bad idea, and we might start to see a few drivers possibly consider that option if this sort of thing continues.
Remember, they've still all got one set of tyres left, so when do you come in and make that blast at the end? Do you wait for 20 to go, 15 to go? I'm going to say you wait for 15 to go and you put them on for the last 15 laps. With how many drivers are still on the lead lap, that might be the way to do it. But then again, do you leave yourself short if there's another quick caution afterwards? A very, very tough decision to make, but I think everyone will want to make sure that they use that last set of tyres.
Yeah, I think everybody will make sure they've utilised the maximum amount of tyres and all that sort of thing before they decide to go on a little bit more of a risky strategy just to try and make something happen. And bear in mind that with those green-white checkers playing a factor, if we do get one, it's going to be very, very handy to have some tyres underneath you if we do get one.
Yeah, if we stay green until 4 to go, 5 to go, then that may be what decides the race, who's got tyres left. But also looking, there's a few trucks that still a few drivers that still have a spare truck in hand too. Likes of Danson, Martin, Russell, Stevens, Yeaman, McKenzie, and Wilkinson all have a spare truck still up their sleeve.
Yeah, so still a lot of people who can probably run the gauntlet a little bit and go with a little bit more of a risky strategy to try and pass cars with the fact they've got a spare car, but also probably don't want to risk putting themselves in a position where they're going to end up breaking the car as well and having to use that spare car unintentionally. So they're going to have to be a little bit cautious, but at the same time, they're going to have to try and get a move on if they want a very, very good result. But pace car is in, green flag is in the air, and we are back in racing with a very, very equal start of the front row and also the second row.
Yeah, not a great launch from Danson to actually pull away. Of course, remembering he has to go on the green flag, but going to make it through. I tell you what, Boulos, how close is he to that wall there? Absolutely millimetre perfect. No room at all. And Jason Martin also looking like he may have a little bit of tyre left here. He's going to try and do something to get past Braden Boulos and Matt Danson. But I tell you what, Matt Danson is going to do everything he can to hold off from Braden Boulos. He hasn't been able to beat him yet this season. And he openly admitted that he felt that Boulos was better at Richmond. So if he can hold on to this position, he will be over the moon with this, but still side by side. Been side by side for 2 laps, and they're still side by side.
Yeah, definitely. Still side by side, still making each other work for it, causing a little bit of a roadblock for Jason Martin and Jaden Russell, who are not too far behind. But Boulos trying to make that high side work on the way through 3 and 4 currently, and seemingly making it work not too bad, but Danson just having a slight bit more of an advantage on that low side, managing to make it work very, very well. But Bulos keeping him down there and is going to end up making Danson burn up that right side tires if he's not too careful. But falling back in behind eventually is Bulos, just waiting for a gap in the end. So he's going to dive back down to the inside, though, off turn 4, and on the way down it's turn 1 and 2. So swapping positions this time around are the two Altus Esports teammates, and now Danson's going to have the run on the outside out of turn 2.
Great comeback there from Matt Danson, who thought that once Bulos got to the inside it might have been all over, but Matt Danson held that outside line perfectly. He's now pulling a little bit of a gap, and as you said too, Braden Bulos may have burnt those tyres up a little bit, trying to work that outside line as hard as he did. He's now trying to bring it in really shallow, probably more to save the tyre or bring the tyre back down to temp than anything else. See the real shallow line, and you can see also too Mitchell McLeod starting to make moves. Remember, he was a lap down not that long ago. He's now back in this fight for 4th position. Mizomo also making moves.
Yeah, Mizomo is right on the tail of Jaden Russell now, looking on the bottom side of the racetrack out of turns 1 and 2, not quite going to have the momentum on his side to get the move done, but he's looking very, very racy and looking to try and set this one up as best as he can. McLeod's done some very, very good work to make his way into 4th place, but Mizomo is looking very, very racy to looking to try and get inside that top 5 currently.
20 laps to go when they cross the line. Danson, Bulos, Martin have checked out from the rest of the field. Mitch McLeod now into 4th position, and Russell, Mizomo, Stevens, Yeaman and McKenzie, with Aaron Russell rounding out the top 10. Still have 13 trucks on the lead lap, so caution now will mean that everyone dives in for their final set of tyres to bring it home. But nobody wants that. But in the same breath, they all want that. They all want fresh rubber to go for these last 20 laps, but they also don't want a caution, because it would mean that they have the potential to lose some positions. Jason Martin, though, that was very, very wide through turns 3 and 4, but he didn't lose too much ground. Very surprising. He's trying to find something that might give him a slight advantage on these front 2 guys.
He's trying everything he possibly can to try and find some form of advantage. He doesn't quite have the same level of pace as they do. It's not too far off, but as the green flag run starts to extend itself further and further into the race, it's going to start to become a little bit of a problem, but he's doing everything he can. Meanwhile, Mizomo is still pressuring the back of Ryan Jones. He's actually managed to make his way on by Simon Mizomo. So Ryan Jones, on what I'd only presume is fresh tyres, making his way very, very quickly through everybody in his way.
Yep, Jones is on 20 lap old tyres, 10 laps newer than the tyres of everyone are in this pack around him. But have a look at just behind. There's Dan Stevens, not too far away. These two are going to have a very, very intense fight. They always seem to find themselves together, these two. It doesn't matter what series we broadcast, whether it's Vertscop Supports, when Mez was racing in the Pro Truck Showdown, or this. These two find a way to make themselves meet and battle.
Yeah, they certainly seem to find each other on the same bit of racetrack a lot of the time, regardless of the series. So they might as well take each other out to coffee at some point. But they certainly seem to scrape each other very, very well, very clean, very hard. So they both enjoy each other, racing each other very, very much every time they see each other.
As long as they take each other out for coffee and not take each other out, I'm sure they won't be too upset about it. Have a look at the gap that Matt Danson now has started to pull on Braden Bulos. Bulos is really starting to struggle with these tyres. Jason Martin is there, ready to pounce.
Yeah, he certainly is right there and ready to pounce when the opportunity arises. He's not going to let Bulos get away, and he's certainly not going to let a possible second place finish get away from him as easily as we might think. So he's going to make Bulos work for this as hard as he possibly can. He goes very, very deep on the way into turn 1, so you can see he's pushing very, very hard. He has to be a little bit careful that he doesn't burn at that right front up a little bit too quick. He wants to try and have something for those last 10 laps or so. And they have to be a little bit careful as well because McLeod has around the same sort of pace as they do, slightly quicker, but it's going to be very, very close. It's nearly into the wall.
I think Martin just clipped the wall there. I think he might have made a little bit of a bump in the wall. And yeah, McLeod now down to 0.8 of a second behind Jason Martin. So McLeod is coming. McLeod also has 8 lap fresher tyres than Jason Martin, Braden Boulos and Matt Danson. Remember, they didn't come in under that caution after they pitted, whereas McLeod did to get his lap back on that previous one. So McLeod got lucky with that caution. As we go back to the battle behind, this is 5th, 6th and 7th. Jaden Russell, Simon Mazzomo and Dan Stevens all together. Ryan Jones has got clear of Jaden Russell now, and Mazzomo is starting to apply big bulk loads of pressure right now.
Yeah, Russell had a possible look at trying to get past Jones on the way into turn 1 last time around, and that kind of balked him down a bit, so he's going to have to work his way back forward, and as a result, it's allowed Mazzomo to get right back onto the back bumper of Jaden Russell. Mazzomo is working very hard. You can see he's trying to make the thing turn, probably adding a little bit too much steering lock, but he's certainly making that truck work very hard, and those right side tyres work very hard as well to try and get this position and this top 5 off Jaden Russell.
Sounds like you might do a little bit of coaching post-race. Of course, you can do that at virtualracingschool.com. Shameless plug. Danson now out to a 1.5 second advantage. Boulos, Martin, McLeod, those have all stabilised in their gaps. This is the closest fight on the entire track right now. Mazzomo versus Jaden Russell is very tight. Don't need a gap up on screen because you can see it. It's very tight between these two now.
It very much is, and driving it a little bit deeper was Mazzomo, and that's compromised the exit out of turns 3 and 4. And the wall is Mazzomo, just brushing it ever so slightly. Got away with that one very luckily. Doesn't look like there's too much damage to that truck, if any, but he's going to be a little bit unhappy with himself over that little mistake that he didn't need to make.
He's definitely working the wheel too hard. You can see how much lock he's putting in the truck. Way too much lock. Turn the wheel back a bit. And he's still struggling for that grip because we've got 6 to go. We're on lap 110 of 115. And we still have 5.5 minutes left on the clock. So we should be okay. And we may even see a green-white checker if we get another caution, as that is the truck of, I believe it's Tim Cornt, who's just going to go a lap down here to these guys. He's just getting out of the way. Very sporting of him to do so. Of course, last week there was a bit of controversy with a lap down truck. Tim Cornt making sure that he isn't the lap down truck that gets involved in that issue tonight.
Yeah, hoping not to cause any sort of incidents, but coming to 5 to go is going to be, or 4 to go, I should say, is a Matt Danson to start to lower the lap count and start to close in on a victory here at Richmond. Braden Boulos has really dropped off the back of Danson as well in the last number of laps, so Boulos not really having anything for his Altus Esports teammate. Martin really struggling to keep up with these guys as well, but he's at least, with the way, so long as nothing happens, he's going to at least be able to get home and bring home a nice bag of points with a podium finish.
Surprised that the gap has grown as much as it has, but remember how hard Boulos was working those right side tyres on the outside line at that last restart. And it's definitely played a factor at the moment, as just see Tim Cornt has lost another position to Sam Stride. Cornt just limps his truck around to make sure that he finishes the race. We will get the white flag this time by for Matt Danson, starting the final lap of this 115 lap race. White flag in the air. Lap 115 begins. Been a very good drive from Matt Danson so far. He's led the majority of the laps in this race. Of course, he got away from the start at the second restart from Jason Martin, who had pole position. But Matt Danson will pick up the win. Round 4 of Scrap.
Yeah, very commanding drive by Danson, and another Altus 1-2 finish as well here at Richmond. And it looks like Mackenzie's just going to edge out Maxfield in the end across the line to take home the final 2 spots in the top 10 as well. But Danson going to be very, very happy to come away with a race victory and a very, very nice, solid back points as well.
100%. Great result for Matt Danson. He's going to bring it onto the victory circle. Will we see a donut tonight? I don't think we're going to. He's just going to bring it up nice and softly. No skids.
Yep, no skid, sadly.
May not have had much fuel left in the tank to do one. To be perfectly honest, Matt Danson in the end, 1.7 seconds over Braden Boulos. Jason Martin in position number 3. Mitch McLeod in 4th. His best result in the series. Jaden Russell in 5th. Mazomo in 6th. Dan Stevens in 7th. Daniel Yeaman in 8th. Darren McKenzie in 9th. And Todd Maxfield rounds out the top 10 as let's have a little look at the burnout. We might as well show that because so these trucks do a decent burnout. Decent donut going on right now.
Yeah, especially when it's night time. The smoke definitely gets a very, very nice reflection with the night lighting and everything going on. So looking like he's managed to get those skids very, very well down pat. Probably has done more than enough to earn them well and truly. But going over the page, the rest of your field is going to be Aaron Russell coming home 11th. Brian Stride, Corn and Talent round out the top 15. Ryan Jones comes home 16th, 2 laps down with just now, fortunately, 3 laps down in 17th after those incidents he had during the race. Peter Wilkinson comes home in 18th, 6 laps down, and then Wingard, Jones, and that is your 20 car field to round out the field.
Another solid night of racing here in Scrap. Let's grab you guys in for a chat. Let's firstly grab, he's finally done it, Matt Danson. Hoorah! You said you were no good at this place, but you picked up the win.
Yeah, I got a bit lucky, I guess. With Braden sort of whatever his issue was on the in quali, sort of getting stuck back there, because I did a pretty average job of quali myself. Kind of choked that, and then so sort of him being behind the 8 ball probably helped me out. But it's good to get good to get one up on him this season. I had to start changing the way things were going. So it's good to get a couple of extra points.
Talk us through that last restart and that last caution. We were a bit concerned when he was holding that outside line, and then he actually got ahead of you there at one point that he might have been able to break away from you, or did you always think he had just enough left in the tank and in the tyre to be able to make that position steep?
I actually thought he was going to get me because the outside would be the preferred lane in that in that situation. I mean, if you can get to someone's outside, it's the faster way to go. So I thought if I was just using everything I could, I was like, if I destroy the right rear tire, so be it. So I was getting everything I could on middle off and just keeping it pegged, and then I got that little bit of space. And normally I'd obviously teammates, you don't want to pinch too hard or anything like that, but I to the outside. He did the logical thing. He jumped to the inside, but I was pretty confident as soon as he did that then now I'm in the preferred line. I'd be able to get that run on the exit, and I was lucky enough to sort of clear that. He was sort of surprised. I think same deal. He expected maybe to have a bit more grip on the bottom, but when he got down there, realised it's pretty sketchy. So pretty sweet.
Another great result for the team, though. Another 1-2 for your team, Altus Esports crew. You guys overall must be very, very ecstatic to pick up another 1-2.
Yeah, definitely. We had our run of poles taken away, but Jason's a superstar. Especially the single lap sort of quality speed. He's he's one of the better guys out there. So probably not a shocker for him to get up there and take a pole position. But yeah, definitely getting the 1-2 is super sweet, and finally got it in my favor, which is nice. But I don't expect that to last. I don't know where we go next, but Braden will probably take back the wins again, I'm sure.
Well, good luck. Next week we're at Chicagoland. Good luck for then. Who would you like to thank?
Obviously everyone at Logitech GL to C Sports, Had the massive win for Cooper and Jordan this week, so that was cool. And keeping the ball rolling there, which is super sick. Virtual Racing School, Astro Gaming, Cube Controls, Racetech Seats, Owned Live, and Sam Blacklock Media, and you guys, of course, as well.
Oh, thanks, mate. Thank you. Appreciate that. There's Matt
Too easy.
Danson. Cam, you're standing by with our second place finisher, Braden Boulos.
Yeah, I certainly am standing by with our second place finisher. Well, Braden, it wasn't quite a win, but still a very, very good result for the team.
Yeah. Coming from the back there, just unfortunately messed up both qualifying laps because I guess the first one just wasn't enough. I had to go out there and ruin the second one as well, just to really make sure. So came from 19th. Was really hoping to maybe pull a win out there, but unfortunately there was one guy who was just too good. But I guess can't be too upset. It was the teammate. Happy for Matt.
Yeah, answer my question on what happened in quali, but nevertheless, obviously starting from the back, you had to make your way through the field and pass a lot of cars. Were you possibly considering pitting earlier under one of the early cautions just to get some tyres on and make your way through the field a little bit easier, or was it just try and work towards getting that longer run out of the way?
Probably, honestly, the latter. It's just, I don't know, I just didn't want to use up a set of tires. I was hoping that I could carve my way through the field before everyone pit, and luckily that's what happened. And but man, it was tough there for a little bit. They were screaming. Once I got up to about 7th or 8th, I knew I wasn't gonna last very much longer. So overall, not too bad though. I guess it was a fun run up through the field.
And we also saw across the race and a few different people working different lines. There was sometimes the middle line seemed to work quite well. The bottom side seemed to work quite well. Was there any specific line that actually tended to favor you a little bit more, or was it just try and work to what the track was doing at the specific time?
Well, when it comes to Richmond, evidently I'm kind of a bottom feeder. I don't know, maybe I feel like I kind of, once the track moves up a little bit, I kind of struggle. If it's all on the bottom, I feel like I can make things happen. But when we get up higher, personally, I'm not the best, especially with a tight truck like that.
Oh, we head to Chicagoland next round, which is going to be a little bit more open than Richmond is going to be, but hopefully some good racing. You looking forward to it at all?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm hoping to qualify this time and hopefully pull another win out there. I think I still got the championship lead, so that's good. And I would like to hopefully extend it at Chicago. That'd be ideal.
Well, before we let you go, just any shout outs and any thanks you want to give?
Absolutely. I got the list again this time because, never want to forget. I got to thank all the boys at Logitech G Altus Esports. I didn't thank the team last time like a total bozo, but I got it in this time. Shout out to the sponsors, Logitech G, Virtual Racing School, Racetech, Cube Controls, Owned, and Astro Gaming, as always. And shout out to Matt, because he was awesome right there. And you guys for putting on the broadcast and the series, and looking forward to Chicago.
Well, we'll see you there, Brandon, and very, very good result. But I believe you're standing by with our final podium finisher, Jason Martin.
Definitely am, Jason. Congratulations on another P3. It seems like we're saying that every week at the moment, but still a very, very good fight that you guys had. Just couldn't quite make the tyre quite last enough to hang there with Matt Danson at the end.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's my first time using racing on this track since they've updated it, so I didn't really know how to make that high line work like those boys, so I was stuck doing my normal low line stuff, and it was working for a while, but that last run I had to try the high line to try and make a move, and I hit the wall and stuffed up the car.
So very, very good lap you put down in qualifying though to break the pole position hold from those guys. You must have been very, very happy to have finally broken that drought.
Yeah, would have liked to hang on to the lead for a bit longer though, but oh well.
It's been a very, very entertaining night though. Were you impressed with the number of cautions? I thought probably a little more than you expected.
Yeah, I expected quite a few early, and then I thought we'd get a long green run, but yeah, pretty much like a normal here. You always get a few yellows after one yellow, so yeah.
A very, very, very tough track too for new drivers in the sim, I've always found. But we head to a track that I know you're a lot more familiar with than the reconfigured Richmond, which is Chicagoland. What are your thoughts on that next week?
Once again, I'm not sure if iRacing's changed it since I last raced there, so I might have to learn how to drive the track again. So it might take me a while to get up to speed, but hopefully I'll be able to stick closer to them Logitech boys.
Fingers crossed you can put on a great show for us. It's been a very, very entertaining few rounds we've had either way. Who would you like to thank, though, for another great result?
Got to thank SimSpeed TV. Good to see you guys do an oval during Australian time zones again, so that's good. And BK Designs and the boys at Mitch Motorsports.
Well, Cam, what a night of racing we've had. Another great night of oval racing. And as we were saying, we head to Chicagoland next week for another 80-lap affair.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing what Chicago is going to hold. It's usually been quite a good track for oval racing in both stock cars and Indy cars. So looking forward to seeing what the racing is going to be like and who's possibly going to come out on top again.
You can join us for that next week at the same time, 9:05 Australian Eastern Standard Time on next Wednesday night. Of course, our next broadcast here on SimSpeed TV will be the Aussie car Skip Barber finale, which will be here on SimSpeed from Circuit of the Americas. We thank you very, very much for tuning in here on SimSpeed, and until our next broadcast, we thank you for watching. We'll see you then.
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's going with the outside of both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taking Anderson. Anderson's up to
Oh my god!
Big crash. Oh my goodness, half the field's going to get rolled.
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, there we go! Oh no! That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my god!
God, what?